Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca and this is my channel where I talk about all the houseplant things. Today we're going to be doing a second installment of a video that I did a little while ago, probably well over a year ago, and that is my most sentimental houseplants. So while these plants aren't necessarily my most sentimental, they are more sentimental stories and plants that I find just a little bit more special in my heart. So I wanted to share these stories with you and hope that you enjoy. The first plant that I want to feature here is this Monstera Standaliana, and it is by no means the fullest and most wow Monstera Standaliana you've ever heard of or seen, but I'm here to tell you that this plant has taught me so much, and it's really special to me because it also came to me from a planty friend, Ashley from Planting the World Red. She gave this to me in a trade and I was so thrilled. I love that the leaves are super holy. I mean, I have another Monstera Standaliana, but it is not nearly this fenestrated, so I just think that it is so beautiful, and it's actually finally putting out a new leaf right here, which you might not even be able to see, but there's finally a new leaf coming out. But basically this plant came to me just as one stalk cutting, and it was probably as big as just this section right here. And then what I did, you can see that it was cut right here, so I cut that and I replanted it in the pot here. So that's definitely something that I try to do to make my cuttings fuller. So whenever I get a cutting or something like that, I'll definitely root it up, but once it starts growing significantly, I will give it a little chop and plant it back in the pot. And that really makes this plant look like a plant, not just a cutting in a pretty pot. This pot is made by Concrete Botanical, by the way, if you're wondering. It's very beautiful. I think the design is called Green Goddess or something like that. So anyway, yeah, this plant just means a lot to me because number one, I used to have a Monstera Standaliana that looked very similar to this, but I killed it really fast. It was one of my first more adventurous houseplant purchases, and I got it when I was in California on a road trip, so that plant was pretty significant to me. But this plant is significant because it represents friendship and also trying again. So I think that, you know, if a plant burns me once, if it dies one time, I can keep going, but if it burns twice, maybe I have, not burns, what the heck, I'm not burning my plants. If it dies twice, so if I get another one and it dies again, then okay, maybe I have one more lesson to learn, so I'll try one more time. Usually I give plants 3 times before I never buy them again. And you know, that is if I still like the plant, but sometimes a plant dies and I'm I'm done with you. So I'm actually planning a video that is plants that I won't be rebuying, so I'm excited about that. It's kind of like the beauty guru thing, products I won't be rebuying in 2021. Okay, the next sentimental houseplant is this baby Monstera, which is thirsty right now, so just humor me. I feel like every time I want to feature a plant, it's looking half dead, and I'm you guys, I promise my plants are healthy for the most part. This Monstera deliciosa baby, I actually grew from seed, and I showed a lot of the process of that in a video that I will link up in the cards, but I bought the seeds from Plant Flicks, and then I planted them, and along with a bunch of other houseplant seeds too. I'm going to be doing that again in a few months, planting more seeds because they sent me some extra seeds as a thank you for making a video, which was very nice. And there's 4 seedlings planted in here, so it's a little bit fuller than it would be if it was just one. This is a plant that is sentimental right now because I feel like it will be sentimental later. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm always kind of thinking about future generations of my family and what they'll think of little old me and Daniel, and I don't know, what will they make of our life? So I just kind of think of this plant and I think about it becoming the size of that plant right there eventually, and maybe when it's in the care of my kids after I've passed away, you know? So I don't know, it's a little morbid, but I kind of think that it's really cool to think about where this plant will be, and the possibility that this plant could outlive me is very big. If I keep it alive and if everyone else keeps it alive. I think it could happen. So yeah, really excited to see where this little baby goes. And I'm honestly just so proud of myself for growing it from seed. And if you're interested in seeing that process, again, check out that video, starting houseplant seeds. All right, the next sentimental houseplant is this Raven Zizi. You can see it's a little bit thirsty, so it's kind of flopping around. It's a theme of the video, like I said, but anyway, this Raven Zizi is so special to me because all of these plants, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces in this plant, and all 4 of those pieces, where did the light go? Hello? Okay. This plant is so special to me because there are 4 individual pieces in here, and I got all of those pieces from different plant swaps from different people. So I feel like it's really special. I kind of, once I did it twice, like once I got 2 different Raven Zizis from a plant swap, I just decided that if there's someone at the plant swap with a Raven Zizi, I'm gonna try to get it, because how cool would it be to have this like big pot of one plant that is just made up of a bunch of cuttings from the community. Oh, that's so cute. I love that idea. So anyway, that's kind of what this plant has become to me. And I did actually, listen to this, I did find a Raven Zizi at a local store here in Columbia, like at Lowe's, which I was so surprised by, because the Lowe's here, I think are going to have good plants. I've heard that like sometimes Walmart will have like Hoya Lisa, and I'm like, what? So I'm pretty excited to like see what all of that is gonna be like, do some plant shopping in the spring. Really exciting. But you know what I noticed? So I bought a Norfolk Island pine from Lowe's a couple weeks ago, I guess, and I was asking if they had any paper to wrap the plant, because obviously it's cold outside, and if you're leaving a store with a plant to go outside in the winter, you need to make sure that it's covered with paper or something to keep, you know, the cold breeze out of its leaves and whatever. This is something that I read online, and I also heard from someone who works at a nursery in Virginia. So I asked if they had any paper to wrap the plant, and they looked at me like I was crazy. And I was just like, and you still sell plants in the winter? And like, I'm just sure that people walk out in like 15-degree weather with a house plant, and then it dies and they have no idea why, and they just think that they're incompetent, but really it's Lowe's. So yeah, I thought it would be really special if this plant was just made up of a bunch of cuttings and just like plants from other people. And I do want to combine it with the one that I found at Lowe's, just to make a really big full plant, because I don't tend to like to keep the same plant type in 2 different pots just to have more plants. Okay, so the next sentimental house plant is this Monstera Standaliana. And listen to me when I say this, I never thought that I would show this plant in a video or like to any capacity, like show it off, because this plant has been the bane of my existence for the better part of a year at least. Because what it did was, okay, you can see that there was this growth, okay? We're gonna like blot this growth out because that is new. So, okay, so we had this long stick here that had leaves all along it, and it was beautiful. And then suddenly they all started dying off, and I'm not exactly sure why, but what I've gathered is that this plant is just a little bit picky about what it wants. So I just wasn't giving it what it wanted, which, you know, the plant was vocal to tell me that I was doing something wrong. So I potted it up in a bigger pot, gave it a moss pole, and then it still was not going very well. So what happened was it grew this long stem, and then ignore this beautiful section here, okay? So ignore that, pretend that doesn't exist. How can we simulate this? Okay, there we go. You can see, this looks terrible. Look how ugly. Like, no. Okay, so it put out this really long thing. The leaves were tiny. They were getting smaller and smaller as we went up, okay? And then from here, it put out this huge runner that was probably like 3 feet long, and it had tiny pure white leaves on it. And I was like, please let me know what you're doing so that I can like get with it. And it didn't let me know. So I cut off the runner a couple months ago, and I just waited to see what would happen. And right before I moved, well, first of all, this plant has gotten spider mites like 9 times in the last year. I don't know why it was such a spider mite magnet, but actually right before I moved, I noticed that it had spider mites. So I put it in a bag Like I put a mini trash bag over it and just sealed it at the bottom because I knew that on the move, my plants were all gonna be touching each other. They were gonna be all up in each other's jelly, and I did not want the plant to give everybody spider mites, which with my luck would have happened. I would have had an entire moving truck full of spider mite plants. So I just sealed it off to keep it normal. And then, listen to this, I took off the bag and there was no spider mites whatsoever. And it was in the bag for probably like a week, honestly, because I kind of forgot about it. And I was like, I don't know if that plant's gonna make it. I'm just gonna leave it in the bag so that I can put off coming to terms with that reality, because this plant was, I think, like $75. We're not gonna waste this money, we're gonna keep trying. And so I took the bag off eventually, and I noticed that there were no spider mites. And honestly, this might have to do with the fact that it was probably very humid in that little bag. And then a few days later, or maybe like a week later, I noticed that it was putting out this. So this little offshoot from that bottom node, you can see it started growing and it put out these two beautiful leaves, which is very exciting. I don't see another leaf coming just yet, but that's exciting. And then it started putting off this offshoot, which you can see here. Very exciting. We have lots of leaves on this brand new branch. You can see the newest one has like a pretty beautiful stripe of variegation there. Thankfully, the variegation has not left this plant, like no matter what I did. Like even up here, you can see that it's still variegated, so that's cool. It makes me think that this plant has stable variegation, but I'm not exactly sure. Let me talk about why this plant is sentimental. Number one, it's kind of a nod to old me who was just getting into buying plants like this and was very nervous about it and not sure about her skills. And also number two, it's very sentimental to me because it represents pushing forward and not giving up on a plant right away, because this plant, I'm not even kidding, like probably for a year just sat and did nothing and irritated me, and I don't know why I held on to it. Like really probably just for old me is the only reason why I held on to it. I really wanted to keep trying, and now I see the benefits of keeping trying and holding on to that hope that the plant will make a turnaround, because like this is an epic turnaround, and like I love this plant now so much. It is so cool. So it's just very sentimental to know that like I was patient and now this happened, which is very cool. I don't know how long this video is, but I think I'm going to end it there. So thank you so much for coming along with me and hearing about these sentimental houseplants. I really encourage you to look around your houseplant collection and think about the plants that sort of make your heart sing in a different way, because I know that we all love every single one of our plants, but there definitely are certain plants for me and probably also for you that just really give you something extra. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that and figure out why and really nurture that, because that will really deepen your relationship with your houseplants and make you want to care for them, make you want to continue loving on them even when they are clearly not loving you. I think that's a really beautiful sentiment to just living with plants in general long term, because it's not always going to be pretty and it's not always going to be fun. And I think that it's definitely good to like take a break from plants if they're not bringing you joy, but in the end I hope that you always come back to plants, because really I think it's a beautiful way to cultivate a strong relationship with nature and a connection to just like something non-human and like non-animal. Something that cannot speak back to you directly. I think that it's a really great way to teach ourselves patience and all of the things that come with communicating with something that is non-communicative in ways that we find the most comfortable, because you know, plants do communicate with us, but not in a way that like a dog or a cat or another person would. So learning that new language is really hard and a bit of a learning curve, but once you learn it, it's so cool. So yeah, I'm just going off because I love plants. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and again, go check around your plants and figure out which ones are sentimental and give them an extra hug for me, okay? So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.